Okay, I'm back. So hopefully this will work. Can you hear me? Coucou Stéphanie. Salut Chris. Hi Mai. Salut les deux. Okay. Salam Osama. All right. Yeah, it works. Okay. Hi everyone. All right. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I was saying welcome, welcome for this new episode of Learning from the Masters. And today we're gonna talk about Caravaggio, which is pretty exciting because it's an artist with a great history, and there's lots of things to say and to talk about when it comes to Caravaggio. So pretty exciting. And guys, as always, just a forward. I'm not an expert in any way on Caravaggio. I don't know everything about him. I'm not an art historian, so I'm just going to look at his work from an artist point of view and see what we can learn from him. And so you're welcome to make your own research while we talk and come back to me with all the info that you can find. And it's going to be fun. Le maître du clair-obscur, exactement. Chiaroscuro in Italian. Hi, Brina. Hi, Jim. Hi, Johnny. Hi, Petka, Anita. All right, so what about Caravaggio? First of all, his life. Like, he had a pretty troubled life. He was a bad, a very bad guy. He had a shady life with lots of. I mean, we know for sure that he at least murdered one person in his life. I don't remember the circumstances. I think it was during some sort of bar fight duel thing. But he was a very shady person. He died at 38, which lets you know how much more he could have made if he just lived a little bit longer. But that was it. It was like a lightning bolt in the world of art. So yeah, exactly. That, so yeah, that's and yes, of course. So he really created a real visual revolution in his time, which was never seen before, and which is also still influential. I think, like, to me as an artist, like Caravaggio's vision in how he revolutionized the use of light, it's really something that has never been made with such a revolutionary step until the Impressionists, in my opinion. Like, you have like the normal train of every artist, like sort of making everything in their own manner, and like you have a revolution in the world of light. It's not just style and technique anymore. It's just light, how he uses light. That changes everything, because before it was more, oh, okay, so if you make the drawing, you should make more this type of composition or this type of thing. But Caravaggio was not anymore in this mindset. He came up with an entirely new way of using light as an element of composition, which is what he was which is what which is what he stayed famous for. And and I think that this revolution in light didn't come close in anyone's art until the Impressionists, in my opinion. Like, nobody had such a revolutionary vision before. So everyone after Caravaggio sort of has to make a decision with regards to the chiaroscuro. Do you want this kind of mood or not? How much do you want from it? And only the Impressionists really took it in a new dimension. Like, it's my opinion, at least. What do you think? Love Caravaggio, such a master. Judice is my favorite. So you had a question, Johnny. What kind of question? What color should I mix to get smooth, light, fair skin? Probably white and like try yellow ochre or burnt sienna, burnt umber. Just try earth colors in white. AGM. So yeah, let's start with Caravaggio. Let's start with this one. So again, do the research if you're interested, because I don't know all the things, but let's look at this painting first. Madonna of the Rosary. So let's check if all right. So at the time of the Caravaggio, I mean, of course, this new style was revolutionary at this time too. He was a famous artist during his days, which is not which was common, but after his death, he went back to being unknown, and it was later that it was rediscovered and entirely by the public. So what was shocking at his time was this. And this is high in realism, except that you could argue that the torsion of this foot is not, well, okay, but whatever. Like painting saints with dirty feet. At the time, this was so shocking, and most of his models were peasants, and even for the most noble saints, he did use peasants or like people from the street, really. Some say he might have used prostitutes to pose as the Virgin. Je crois qu'il se représentait souvent dans ses peintures. C'est possible, ouais, c'est très possible. Il avait même fait apparemment un tout petit autoportrait dans son Bacchus, dans le reflet du verre de vin. Et ils s'en sont rendus compte il n'y a pas longtemps. I believe he was a big lover of burnt umber, probably. His life is very interesting. If you want to have a look at a documentary on his life, I mean just the life, not even the painting. I mean the painting and the life are sort of mixed, because he saved his life many times with his talent. Just the fact that he was talented saved him more than once, I think, because like a normal dude with a normal shady life such as his would have spent his time in prison, but he was so talented that the most powerful man just took him out of the most troubled situations. He had a lot of work rejected. Oh, really? Yeah, it's like the reaction. Hey, Astrid, the reaction like for his work was I mean, he created a true revolution, so it's no surprise there. All right, so let's look at the composition on this one. Okay, let me grab my. All right. So let's trace the diagonals to see a little bit where we are. All right, so Virgin and Christ are pretty much in the center. But the attention is dragged there. No, it's the opposite. Let's take. See how it creates some sort of. Of my errors and there's also another triangle if you want to see it. If you follow this line up, follow this line right there. No. Hello. Hello, Roberto. Which kind of medium do you think he uses to get that finish? I have no idea about his medium. I have a book saying that by Joseph Shepherd, which is painting like the old masters. I'm not a fan of this book. I think it's a good book for techniques, but let me just I have no idea what medium he used. Maybe a medium out of wax, but I don't see how wax could give such darks. I mean, this book says wax, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So if you want to make the research, feel free, but I think probably like some thickened linseed oil with some kind of spirits like turpentine, probably. Le regard du vieil homme à droite est impressionnant. Vieil homme à droite. Je sais pas qui sont ces deux hommes d'ailleurs. En tout cas, ils focalisent l'attention. Hello Jean-Jacques. All right, so let's have a look at this composition. So basically, it's not very common as a composition to have this kind of mood. So of course, the obvious is this big red drapery which covers, I would say, the top, like the top third of the painting. Which is great. I mean, it works great. And it brings a very dramatic effect. Brings a very dramatic effect. Like the red was not like, you know, at this time you had colors that were allowed for the Virgin, and red was not allowed. So the Virgin on his painting is blue, but it's I don't know if it's blue turned or if it's voluntarily not powerful like this. But if you compare this red, which is not on the Virgin, this drapery is it's very like dramatic. It really looks like a theater. And this guy's in the middle. All right, so let's have a closer look. All right, first. All right, can't really zoom in too much, but so there's no brush marks. It's really something different after we've seen Rembrandt in the last one. I don't see how he could use wax medium. I don't really trust this book's opinion on this. So it's well known that that Caravaggio didn't have preparatory drawing, or at least he did not keep them. So like there's two things. L'homme à gauche sert de relais pour voir l'essentiel de la scène. On rentre par le bas à droite vers la gauche et on repart à droite avec le sein gauche. Ouais. Ouais. So like there's two solutions to whether or not Caravaggio did do drawings, because this changes the technique completely. But if one artist is famous for not using prep drawing, it's Caravaggio. But it could be that he had preparatory drawings like sketches or cartoons like they had before, but he didn't use them for transferring, or he didn't use them as the artist did, like, because they would like poke holes into the drawing and then like put some charcoal dust to have the drawing transferred onto the canvas. So Caravaggio did not do that. That's for sure. But he could have made some drawings, just threw them away, or they weren't kept. Like he was not a very he was not a very organized and serious guy, so maybe he was just throwing them off. There's lots of things. Rien n'est mis au hasard. En effet, possible. Il utilisait probablement la caméra obscure. Ben ça, j'en suis pas sûr, tu vois. C'est ça le truc. Alright, so do you mind, Jean-Jacques, if I speak in English, because like this is really a point. I want to answer your question, but so the third way, this third solution comes from David Hockney. It's called the Hockney Thesis, which says that the Caravaggio probably used a camera obscura. So let's talk about this. So if you want to make your research, it's an actual theory by the artist David Hockney and the physicist Charles Falco. So their argument is that many artists of the Renaissance did use camera obscura for their paintings, and I really think they probably did. Some of them probably did, but like in the case of Caravaggio, no. And I think that most of the major artwork of the Renaissance was not made with a camera obscura. Maybe some of them were interested in that because at the time it was a brand new thing, and it was a sorry, I lost my words. I completely lost my train of thoughts. All right, but so maybe they were interested because like at the time it was like the brand new technology. So of course, an artist of this period sure was interested in this, but to say that they've used it, I mean, their arguments are very sketchy. The left-handed, because like, so when you look at your subject into this camera, so it's just like 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 some sort of photography device, and of course, so the picture is inverted if you have this. So some people say, all right, because there's so many left-handed persons in these paintings, it means that he must have used a camera obscura, which I don't agree. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know. Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried to like take just a normal camera, like in low light conditions, like in the case of the Caravaggio, the picture would have been so dim and so no, to me it's not possible. Saying that he was very talented and that he was capable of actually doing this, I think it's just as probable as using a complex device in every situation for which we have no traces. We never had any reports on this. I know, like there's been like articles, I've seen this one, so the artist may have used some sort of primitive photography, and there's been like studies on this. So yeah, I've got some articles right here. So let's start with the arguments. So who's David Hockney? David Hockney is an artist, but seriously, he's not very talented for drawing, at least. Like that's a bad painting. That's by David Hockney. And I agree that if you don't really know how to properly draw, how to properly paint realistically, you think it's probably impossible to paint realistically. So maybe it's just style. So okay, I give you this. It's a matter of style. But if you look at how the Caravaggio, so I've got this article from the Art Renewal Center. Like, you can check it out. It's from the Art Renewal Center, ARC, and it's about this topic on Hockney. Elle a été beaucoup utilisée pendant la Renaissance. Ouais, mais je pense qu'elle a été beaucoup utilisée, cette méthode, mais à des fins scientifiques, mais pas vraiment par les artistes. Je pense pas vraiment qu'elle a été utilisée par les artistes, et surtout pas par les grands artistes qui sont restés, parce qu'une caméra obscure, ça aide en rien. So, like, this article describes all the arguments of like the secret knowledge. This is the book by Hockney, Secret Knowledge, and this article deconstructs debunks the arguments and give you this. I mean, these are portraits made by Ingres. He was eyeballing this, so just like drawing like this, and he was doing some very good drawings. And this is David Hockney's examples using the camera, what he calls camera lucida. And as you can see, this is not good. These are not good drawings. These are bad portraits, very bad portraits, to be honest. Like, there's a comparison. Like, look at David Hockney's portrait. This is not a good example of how the camera obscura helps you make a realistic and good drawing. So I strongly disagree. And because it's been proven that it's possible to have a very good accuracy without requiring any sort of camera obscura. So I'm in strong disagreement with this. So my opinion is that he probably did some preparatory drawing, just through them, and he painted like with a very thin wash of an earth color directly onto the painting, and he constructed like this the thing. The pose, I'm sure he was taking the models that were sitting for him very seriously. He was really trying to put them in the right situation, but he would paint just like this, sort of similarly to what I have been doing during my last stream, if you've seen it, on the alla prima study of Comme. So, on est certain que Vermeer l'utilisait. See you, Johnny. Et de faire avec une claire conscience et un contrôle absolu sur la manière de la perspective. Hockney is trying to bump his own profile because his work is... I'm not gonna say that, it's a bad word, but I do agree. Hi, Snipe. Yeah, David Hockney is not very talented, so maybe he was trying to find an explanation to how can you create that? How can you create that with no optical device? I can tell you how you can create that. You create that with talent and work, and that's about it. That's about it. And I think the vision that you need to create that is not like an optical device is not going to give you this this feeling. Hey, Corey. Hey, James. Oh, I didn't just saw you already. Sorry. It is a study in practice. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a wonderful portrait, and the emotion, everything is there. And in the case of Caravaggio, you can really say it's raw. You can really say it's raw talent. He died at 38, guys. So not many years of practice. Not that many years. But creating a portrait like this, it's just amazing. You're working on the taping of Christ at the moment. Quel genre d'études recommandez-vous pour ce genre d'art? Histoire de l'art. Si c'est vraiment l'histoire de... Ouais, histoire de l'art, c'est bien. Si vraiment étudier les œuvres en tant que scientifique, quoi. Créateur, je ne pas en tant que pas dans le but d'en créer d'autres. And the other saint is also very impressive. This virgin clearly, some virgins were looked more like real person, but you can clearly see that the Caravaggio for this one tried to idealize the features of the face. And it's not his most successful portrait. If you look at it, you can clearly see that he tried to idealize her, make her more like, probably he didn't have a very pretty model to sit for him, so he used the actual classical codes, like with the very rigid nose here, with the very oval shape, very roundish features. So that's not something that a camera oscura can give you. I really don't think he used a camera oscura. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to leave a comment if you're looking at it and what's your opinion on this. But like, to me, let's have a look at other works, shall we? All right. This one not very interesting. Let's have a look at this one. All right, so first composition. I love the way he adds details on the big piece, not like Rembrandt. Rembrandt did add some details too, but it was more like, how to say, It was more detailed, but with lots of brushstrokes everywhere around it, so you didn't see them as clearly. Okay, so let's have a look. Where is the center? Okay. So clearly in this composition, I'm trying to have a look. You have a very, very aggressive V shape here. That's really putting a lot of emphasis on the pain of this head of Christ with thorns. This V is very aggressive. Like it's very you clearly see the point. It represents the point in the composition, in how they're oriented, the angle of these two sticks. Like, how do they have to press so hard? And you don't really see what's happening behind there, but it's already so aggressive, and it pushes. Wow, it's really, really, really strong in terms of composition. Because if you think about it, if they weren't pressing this hard, the head of Christ would be here, like right dead center. But because they're pushing, they're sort of pushing him off the center. And like symbolically, this is very strong, a very strong point in composition. You can't see that in Hey Bob. Yeah, because that's what paid. Caravaggio painted a lot of religious pieces. Even though he was a bad guy, like probably because first of all he was doing bad things, and always he was always looking for forgiveness afterwards. And apparently, when he died, he was on his way to Rome to ask the Pope for forgiveness, apparently. And yeah, so of course at the time, what paid the best was the church. So let's have a look at these arms right here, right here, right here, right. And this is super strong in terms of composition. Let's remove things and have a look now at how he used light as well. So using light to push his composition. Look at how light is parallel. This shadows here. And Jesus is pushed in this hole, like in this void, in this emptiness, pushed away from light. So the light comes from here, and because of these guys, he is like pushed away from the light. And this guy right there, what would you say his role is in the composition? It's almost nothing. He's just filling the gap, filling the void right here, and not taking too much out of this darkness, because it's on purpose that it's a dark armor. I don't know what his role is, just filling the gap so that you have this gap, because there would be two voids in the same paintings if this guy weren't there filling it up. The light is very artificially placed. À tous une bonne soirée, je vous regarde de l'Ukraine. Salut Feelings in Drawing. Juliette Aristides parle assez bien dans son livre Classical Drawing, atelier des techniques utilisées à l'époque. Ouais, c'est un bon livre. Avoid balance with the armor. He heard that he got a pardon for murders after some year. That's why he headed back to Rome. He had a lot of paintings with him, but he was captured on his way there by mistake. Oh. Interesting, Dan. Thanks. A-t-il influencé Nicolas Poussin? Possible. Il a influencé énormément de gens. Yeah, he was a troubled guy. He painted pictures of his own decapitation as apologies in an attempt to gain pardon. His life was troubled. When he was released, he couldn't find his belongings, painting and stuff. He got really depressed, caught a fever, and died. Oh, really? All right, so yeah, that's a pretty intense composition. And one thing that you didn't see too much at the time was like, sorry, was cutting people from the frames like this. It was not that common, especially for religious scenes. All right, great composition. And we could say the absence of background is not a problem. Like, if he did like most of his contemporaries and put some kind of landscape behind this scene, it would have ruined the effect. it would have ruined this idea of a void and an artificial light. Like it's sort of, it was shot in a cell of some sort. But it was very new at the time to like completely forget about painting a landscape in the background and just use light to give a dramatic effect. So, well, pretty good. Let's have a look at the details now. All right, so. All right, this is not anatomically perfect, which is why I have doubts on the camera obscura. The neck is very, very thick, and there is probably some idealization in this angle right there, and how the eyes and nose create this Roman classical nose ridge. And the eye is also kind of oddly shaped. There is something about this portrait. There is something about this face. I don't know why. What do you think? En contrast. The paint layers look quite thin. Yeah, and there is absolutely no visible brush mark. I mean, I'm gonna try to look for brush marks. Yeah, right here, you could say. There is no trace of the effect of a brush, which is quite common for this time period. Oh, right there. You have one brush mark that's visible. Let's have a look at. So there was probably a dead layer, a dead color layer. Because if you look at this, you see this is the warm, the cool underpainting. So he probably painted a grisaille first. So basically, if you remember the technique that I've used for my skull study in my last stream, it's like probably the same approach with some sort of a thinner, I'd say, thinner approach. But like first painting what I see, if I try to visualize him painting, first he would like make a very big wash of an earth color, probably burnt umber or raw umber, a big wash, very washed out, and start drawing directly with paint, and then add like maybe like raw umber and white, lead white, because the only white at the time was lead white, and create some sort of grisaille first, and first like make his drawing directly with paint using a grisaille. And the use of a grisaille could explain why he didn't make prep drawings. Like if you do a grisaille, you don't need preparatory drawings. Sorry, I need to do that. Et la vision de l'homme de gauche. La vision de l'homme de gauche. Ah. So more traces of an underpainting. Let's try to find it. So the grayish tones right here might be from the grisaille. Trying to look for traces of the technique. The texture on this one is wonderful. But I don't think he used grisaille and then glazing. I think he used the grisaille first as a way of making the drawing and drawing the composition. Because with the grisaille you have everything you need really. The rest is just touches of color here and there. But the grisaille gives you the light, the shadows, the composition, everything that you need for a painting such as this one. Utilise-t-il la technique du sfumato? Oui, certainement, mais c'est-à-dire que tu vois pas la moindre trace dans la démarcation entre l'ombre et la lumière. Donc tu vois, t'as vraiment quelque chose de très... On voit d'ailleurs, regarde, on voit qu'il a posé le blanc là. Toute cette partie blanche, elle a été posée au-dessus. On voit ici une sorte de démarcation. On voit que le blanc, ici, n'appartient pas à la même couche que là et là. Et ça allait ensemble, là et là. Et ça a été posé pour faire un peu un rehaut de lumière. Je pense qu'il utilisait des brosses très douces. Là, on voit la sous-couche là. C'est rouge, marron. Les portraits sont plus opaques, mais là on voit la transparence. Any feelings in drawing? How did you do those metal scratches on the armor? So let's have a look. So the texture is mostly comes from the values. It's not like the texture doesn't come from the surface itself. In reality, it comes from a great mastery of values, which is, I think, what Caravaggio was best at. He was really awesome for values. So you could argue that, oh, maybe here you can almost see the texture of the canvas. I don't know if it's just the definition of the photo or not. So you can see that there is basically a brownish, like if I had to do that exactly how he did it, I would first have a brownish underpainting. Like if you look at this here, this is brown, and then with just a semi-opaque layer of black and gray, like you control how, like after the brown is dry, just paint on top of it. This is how I do it. This is how I would do it. And you just control by making it more or less opaque. So if you paint with your darkest color and you want to make it more opaque, it goes like this. You put a little bit of white, it goes like this, and you put almost pure white to create the highlight, and there you go. And you just have to really control the values for what he did there. Oh, sorry. For what he did there. Yeah, it's mostly gray. You can see the underpainting right here. So brown underpainting and black and white. Like you can see the underpainting here. And it creates this impression of sort of rusty armor. Black and blue? No, I don't think so. You're picking up little bits of French on this stream. De toute façon, je pense que Jean-Jacques, tout était vraiment marron au premier passage, tout est vraiment marron. Il fait vraiment un dessin avec juste du marron dilué. Et donc en fait, il peut utiliser après ça. Soit il l'utilise, soit il le renforce un peu. Il a l'air quand même un peu... Il a l'air opaque. On le voit encore là, ce marron là. On le voit là. Non, non, c'est pas le même. C'est pas le même, pardon. On le voit là. Trying to look for traces of whatever I can grasp. Ah, là on voit la sous-couche, là. There you go. There you can see some brown underpainting right there. You see it, like it's been only partly covered. So just imagine that before he painted with this white and this skin colors and this skin colors, most of the painting would look like this, like brownish. Most of it like this. It's only a semi-opaque grayish thing here in this triangle, but you can see the underpainting right there. It's all brownish. You see it there, see it everywhere in this arm. It works perfectly. It works perfectly, so he didn't bother finishing it. Maybe he didn't have the intention of finishing it because it really works. I mean, poses no problem at all. Yeah, brown underpainting. There we have it. You can see it there too. Hey, yes, sir. I'm always amazed how the old painters approach metal. Yeah, metal is only light and shadow. So for an artist like Caravaggio, it's a piece of cake, really, because creating the texture of metal is just about controlling values. So, like for an artist like Caravaggio, it's just as easy as breathing. It's only about values. You don't need like to create the aspect of gold. You don't need a very powerful yellow. Actually, a very powerful yellow is going to throw you off most of the time. What you need is just some like normal yellow ochre. With very simple yellow ochre, white and burnt umber, you can create the most realistic golden plates, golden necklaces, whatever, like everything. And you don't really need the actual color. It doesn't even need to come close. Like a um, very, very neutral yellow ochre. But what you need is to create some specular reflections like this. If you have this, if you have all these tiny spots that are like this, these specular reflections, you would create the effects of metal. Like you don't have specular reflections as powerful as this. And by the way, guys, by the way, guys, by the way, guys, specular reflections can betray a painter. You would think that the light comes from here, right? Because everything is lit from here. But how come some light seems to come from down there to hit there? Like it's not the same angle. He's not facing this wall there. Like there's some kind of other light that comes from, like if you had to make it in 3D, if you had to make it in 3D, it would be something. Come from here. Of course, the light is artificial in this set, but it's just funny. And it works. It still works. It still creates a beautiful armor. All right. Can be two light sources. Yeah, but the shadows wouldn't be as strong on the characters if there were two shadows, two light sources. Sorry, there would be a lot less shadows, like optically speaking, considering the apparent power of this specular reflection. It would light up this area here. It would light up everything here. He's just been, I mean, this guy, I said before, but he's just here to fill the void on the left side. He's not part of the composition. You could sorry, don't want to make this. You could completely take him out of the picture, almost. I think he was there more for fun and to just balance this void, to bring more focus on this void. So he clearly, I think he was painted after. He sort of realized that there needs something there, and that's true. It's kind of empty. It's kind of empty right now. And to show off his metal painting skills too. That was important. It's funny how he doesn't go with how he doesn't belong. I mean, if you look at this, you understand. You understand what's happening. It's pretty clear. And this guy, this fancy, noble gentleman, is just looking. It's not part of the action. It's just looking at it. This guy is weird. It's strange. I'm trying to think. Yes, that's sure that if you take him off, something's clearly missing. I'm trying to think as Caravaggio, but he's not from here. It was common for Caravaggio to use the clothing of his time too. So it's the fact that this is not from the same time period is not a problem. Not considering that. It's just not part of the action. He's the second focal point. I agree. I do agree. He is. He actually is the focal point. No. It's a secondary focal point. It's a secondary focal point. But it's almost like, if you think about it, it's almost like he has his own painting inside of a painting. Because you can like create and cut him off. And there you go, that's his own painting. That's his part. It's not sharing. And what does he want to do? Does he want to touch the hand of the Christ? What does he want to do? And what is he resting on? That closes the composition, and it's sort of, I would say, like symbolically, it's more to symbolically, this guy is keeping the viewers out, like he's creating a frontier between the public, the viewers, and the action of the scene. Like he's clearly cutting the scene with his bench or wall. I don't know what he's resting on. This is also like, this is not on this is not on this is made on purpose, and this sort of cuts the composition, sort of like you're here, you're viewing this painting, and you can't go in. It's forbidden. You cannot go in, and it's the darkness that prevents you from going there. You can't go there yourself. That's only Christ. That's you don't go there. That's symbolic. That's symbolic. This guy is symbolic. His attitude is not he's not even really looking. Where are his eyes? They're not even like really on Christ. They're like in the middle of nowhere. He's not looking at the scene. He's preventing you from going into the scene. He's like blocking your way in. To me, that's the point. And this guy, that's what's weird about him, in my opinion. And he is in the dark. Interesting. Maybe he was a religious leader. They wanted to get Jesus killed because they were jealous and he didn't physically. Maybe he was a religious. Who was a religious leader? He had to avert the eyes from the horror. I agree with you, Vox. And it's not easy in there. So the red and black Zola. I can't look at it in a restful way. Maybe it's trying to protect us. Like if you show this interpretation to a Christian, he would say like, yeah, this makes sense. You don't have to suffer because Christ has suffered for you. Like, well, you do have to suffer. It's part of life. But Christ has suffered so that your suffering is not in vain. So you're protected from the suffering. So what's happening right now is Christ suffering for you. This is what a Christian would tell you. This is Christ suffering so that you can live in peace and go to paradise, and that's Christian faith right here. So this armored guy is protecting you. You can't interfere right now. Like a Christian would say, this was meant to happen. You're not allowed to interfere. You're not allowed to go save him because he is saving yourself. Like, and it's amazing how a composition can be so strong. I didn't realize. I'm spending a lot of time on this one, but I'm glad I spent so much time on this, because at the first sight you don't realize this kind of thing. You have to spend a lot of time, and I'm not sorry that I will take 2 hours if I need, but I would spend the time to really really go through everything that I can see. Sometimes when I go to museums, guys, I don't like walk around. I just mostly if it's free museums, but I choose one piece and I sit in front of it or I stand in front of it, and I only watch this one. When I was in at the National Gallery, I would just, or in the Louvre, because it was free. I was a student. I would just choose one work and just look at it entirely. So sorry if you think it's wasting your time, but I think that you can see things if you really spend your time and put all your thoughts into it. So like in this painting, for instance, the violence of this V in the composition, you can see it clearly. Like it's the first thing you see, like the violence and the pain, and you could say, yeah, it's only about this. It's only about Jesus Christ suffering, but it's not. And thanks to this guy, if you take him off from the composition, if you take him off, then all of a sudden nothing is stopping you from interfering. And this is something new. Like Caravaggio brought this. This was new for him because he was making such realistic paintings that you could have the impression that, oh, you're almost allowed to go there because you can almost touch it. I mean, these skins are so realistic. I mean, you can see the tan line of this guy. You can clearly see how his tan there and not here. It's so realistic. You could feel that you can go in and save him. You could save Jesus Christ because it's happening right there in front of you. Like, or at least for us, we don't think that naively, but at the time, it was so unexpected for the people of the time that and if you put this guy, all of a sudden you're not allowed in anymore. You can't go in. Better to understand one painting that missed the point of 100. I agree with you, James. But it's only when museums are not free, then in that case, you want to see, like, you don't want to pay 5 or 10 euros or dollars to see just one painting. All right, pretty cool. So what do we have next? Okay, let me just there's so many things. I mean, let's oh, there are so many interesting compositions. This one is amazing too. I mean, more than just the chiaroscuro, Caravaggio is so revolutionary in composition. It's oh man, what a genius! This, I mean, Judith is even more powerful than this one, I think. But this one too, like, it's amazing. It's just amazing. It's turned yellow. It's very yellowish. So this must be the varnish. So for those who don't know, this is Abraham and Isaac. So this is the old story that's in most monotheist religions, where Abraham responds to God's call to sacrifice his own son, and out of obedience he agrees, and an angel saves the son and gives a sheep instead. All right, let's have a look. So you have a landscape here, so it's more classical. It's classical Caravaggio. Hi, Fimax. I hope it's not too dark. The reproduction is quite dark, and I don't know if it's because of the I'm gonna check on Google Image. It's less dark on this one. Oh yeah, I could find. Oh, Commons Wikipedia image. Oh wow, it's awesome. Okay, cool. Thanks Wikipedia. Okay, so we have all. Sorry, I've got two zooms. It's all the way in or all the way out. Sorry about this, but let's try to do it. Maybe I can save the picture. I'm gonna just save the picture and have it. All right. Okay, so now I can zoom as much as I want. All right, sorry about this. This version is probably a little bit better, but I would prefer to no, stop. Yeah, okay. No. Oh. All right. So first, let's look for the center. Always do this. Always start looking for the center. All right. It's pretty common. Okay. Now the dynamic lines. No. There is a strong element that is depending on the looks, and there's this big void with a calm Toscan landscape. It doesn't make sense. Like, geometrically, it doesn't make sense. Ismail was calm when Ibrahim wanted to slay him. Yeah, but not in Caravaggio's world. In Caravaggio's worldview, everything is a drama. And his life was dramatic. He probably knew this face himself. I don't know if it's before his own murder or after, because like Caravaggio had a murder of his own. But whatever. Let's so if you only look at the geometry for this, it doesn't really make that much sense. What makes sense is how the eyes and arms play. So of course you have this look, but Isaac is looking directly to the viewers, directly to you. It's gazing at you. It's, what are you doing? Save me. It's not looking at the angel or and this look is questionable. And of course, yeah, sure, you have also the so this is the composition. This is what makes the composition. And also, got to say, the light also makes the composition. Light falls from here. It's part of this game. Again, the contrast averting the eye. There is a goat. Yeah, it's Abram. It's the story of Abram. The eye is torn between the canvas again. Bye, Jean-Jacques. How long does it need to take? It depends on who is working. How long does it take to do this kind of work? It really depends. So basically, when you look at this piece, where do your eyes go? Everywhere, everywhere. That's it. That's the that's the composition right here. Like you have nowhere to rest your eyes and to just peacefully follow a calm path. It's a chaotic moment. It's a moment of violence. It's a moment of drama, and you will have no rest. There is no place for you to peacefully sit and watch. Like your eyes go all the way, just like their eyes, and I think that's the idea. That's the idea, to make the viewers turn, because you not only follow the eyes, but you also follow the action. You also follow the action. So it goes everywhere, and it creates some sort of circle, like where you never know where to go. And you don't go there, you don't stay there very long. Right. But if you want to see the biggest shapes, I mean, you have some pretty you have some pretty classical idea. It's classical now of balance and counterbalance. Like it's clearly weighing on this left side, and the landscape is just here to sort of counterbalance. Also, another principle to keep in mind is where the light comes from has to stay dark. So this here, this area has to stay dark, because this is where the light comes from. And you figure that light comes from here by making it darker, not making it lighter. You would say, oh, this point is closer to the light, so it has to be light. But no, it's dark. That's a composition thing. Top right. So what do you see, guys? Let me know. If you use a mirror, how does it like? How does it look like? To the lightest light, to the angel. The rest of the eye in the landscape. The top right. Yes, Chad. It goes from left to right. I almost want to look at the color of the landscape, but I can't. Try the cycle. You see the light from the left top to the right down, very white, but the rest light is yellow. Can he try to be in the shadow? Who? It's hard, sure, yeah. You can't even rest your eyes. It's like it's impossible to look at this composition peacefully. But it all works together. It's not entirely chaotic. It all works together. And in the end, it looks at you, screaming. The kid is looking at you, screaming, crying for help. The kid is probably Caravaggio himself. It's, I'm not sure it's a self-portrait, even though it could be, but it could clearly be Caravaggio himself. Let's compare this kid like to the Medusa, which is a self-portrait. Um, there's clearly an obsession. He had a troubled life, and you can see that. Maybe that explains. Yeah, that's surely because of his personal life always being in fights and brawls, and that definitely explains to me why his scenes are violent. Can you pivot the paint on the right? No, I don't think I can, but I can this one. If you want to see like the same angle. There is a recurring theme, at least. But you know you have a troubled life when you paint yourself as a screaming Medusa. Can you guys make the research and because it's gonna take a lot of time for me. Can you guys make the research and check if he made this painting, like the sacrifice of Isaac, after he committed murder? Can you check that? And can you check what kind of murder he did? Because I know that he was more or less into a fight with some guy, and people like at the time they used to duel. Um, could you like make the research for me? Because if I make it, it's gonna be too boring for everyone. All right. So what else do we have? I'm just trying to find a good one for the last one. Yes, he did. He apparently castrated someone. That's gruesome. That's gruesome. And this one is interesting too. The detail is quite good. You have a goat too, which is a symbol of at the time it was a symbol of paganism and like even though the lamb is a symbol of Christ, the goat is not a good symbol. It was not a good symbol. So this is Saint John the Baptist. A love rival. Oh, okay. A love rival. Oh yeah, and there was a story with his brother, I think. Wasn't it? He was mentally ill. Yeah, probably. Did he paint a different sacrifice of Isaac? I'm not sure. Okay, so composition first. Let's have a look. I don't think there's a lot in terms of geometry because this one is entirely centered on curves. So I think there is nothing to see in terms of geometry. Yeah, not really anything. It's all about hmm, it's all about this. The Italian called this the serpentina, the serpentine line. Again, looking at the viewers, I think Caravaggio had an obsession with making his painting look real. and look like from this world, and making the model, the subject, look at the viewer is a very strong point in this direction. Oh, really? So he killed his love rival in bungle castration attempt. Light again. Ah. Light again is coming from here. This is an awesome nude, an awesome painting of the human body. It's a parable about the final judgment. Jesus said that goats will go to the left, and that's the side of curse, which means hell. All right. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure he had trouble with sin and forgiveness, and he had trouble with his spirituality, and this goat is amazing. It's amazingly painted. I would say that the portrait of the goat is even better than the portrait of the child. He almost painted this goat more lovingly than the child. Like, look at the level of detail in the hair. In the hair of the child, it's meh. But look at this. You almost feel like you can touch it. And look at this horn. I don't know. I don't know if it was just about the fun component or not, but look at this eye and this eye. This one is not as good. This one is really good for a goat. There's a lot of lights around, a lot of definition, a lot of texture, a lot of small points of lights right there. The light composition is really great because like you have the cast shadow of the child's head. The goat looks like it's up to no good. It was a bad. It had a negative. It had a negative. How could you say that? Sorry. Oops. It had a negative connotation. So probably it's probably a symbol of his own youth, like embracing embracing a life of trouble, and you clearly know that the goat is not the goat that's up to no good, it's the kid that's embracing the goat, which the goat is already a symbol of evil, like of those who chose evil, sort of. Whereas the lamb is not a symbol of is not a negative symbol. Exactly what you thought. Yeah, embracing the bad side. Yeah, well, we talked about it in the beginning, Mark, but I don't think it's true. I really don't think it's true. But you will when the stream is finished, you could rewind. We had a complete conversation on this. And look at this fur. It's quite amazingly painted. That's wet on dry. You have to paint texture, like fuzzy texture, let it dry, and put more fuzzy texture of another color. Very fine with some sort of fan brush. Very fine hair. And it's amazing. It's very good. What's going on here? I wonder what's going on. What? I was wondering what's going on in this transition. I don't know. Come to the dark side, we have cookies. It's exactly that. Come to the dark side, we have cookies. It's a great painting. Alright, so what else do we have? Oh, this was not... Yes, St. John the Baptist. This is another one. This is another St. John's. Oh, this one is not as full of innocence. It's probably after he went to the dark side, maybe. Was it painted before? Let's see. This one was in 1604. 1602. Yeah, this was painted before. Same subject, like 2 or 3 years later. Boom, that's how you are. Not sure. I think it might be on purpose. Alright, so this Wow, there's some interesting discoloration of the shadows right there. Wow, traces of the grisaille. Can see it. Traces of the grisaille right there. Right there. Right here. Here too. The fur again. The grisaille is definitely a strong element of this painting. Let's look at the composition first. All right. No. Okay. So full of hurt, anger, yeah. This fur is amazing. Well, all right. Let's first. I always look for the center first, just to see. All right. All right. This diagonal is clearly part of the composition. That's balanced. That's very balanced. And it goes with the look too. The only thing that's breaking this balance is the stick. It's a cross even, and if you even look at the cross with the perspective, it goes something like this. Stick is a little bit curved, but still. Well, it would have been boring if the stick followed this diagonal. You need something in composition and painting. You always need an idea, like a direction, and something to break it. You always want like a general direction and something to sort of cut it out, or something to balance, or to count it, like some sort of counterweight. It doesn't have to be the same weight, just something like to so that it's not too boring. Would he do that on purpose? Also, you have like secondary lines, parallels here, here, here. And of course, the light, as always. As always, a light coming from here. So if you want to be classical about it, the classical approach, especially at the time, you would open this forest right there and put a landscape or whatever of something. But the fact that he didn't open, like for instance in the sacrifice of Isaac, he opened the forest. But for this one he did not. And this tells something. Because this was very common at the time to have the forest like on the side, especially after Titian and Veronese. This was very common to have an opening on the side like this. There's no opening. The dark is very dark. I don't like this. Yeah, I think the subject in the painting doesn't like it either. I think this is the impression that he was trying to convey, which is why the painting, in my opinion, is successful. It's almost perfect. It's something he planned. It's always hard to say. It's always hard to say. Did he plan? Or was he like a spontaneous genius that could have all these things so they exist subconsciously? He doesn't really have to think about it, and it applies like this. Or he planned. It's hard to know. We don't know if he planned this. The only way we could know is if we had some some drawings. But because we don't have any drawings, we don't know. My opinion is that he did some drawings. He did some drawings. It's just that we don't have any drawings remaining. But that's not saying that he didn't do any drawing. He didn't use the drawings for tracing or transferring on his canvas. But he could have made the drawings that just didn't last and they didn't survive. But that white always have different look. It's definitely thinking about something. And even if he didn't make drawings or whatever, it's something you have to think about when you have your model. When you ask your model how to pose, you have to think about these things. Alright, so let's look, let's zoom in. Wow, that's a sad face. That's a successful face, though. More successful than the young Saint John. It's almost like with Caravaggio, it's almost like his more successful paintings are sadness or old man or like people that have suffered. The hair is awesome, it's good. It's not too mannered because at the time they had this tendency to make them like to overpaint the hair and the curls in the hair. They had this tendency to make way too much, and it doesn't look natural if you make too much. Here's just a few reflections, and they almost melt with the background anyway, so if I showed you only this, you wouldn't know. It's not too many warm hues in the skin. It's very neutral. Except here. Here. So the hands around the face, around the neck. Fur texture again. You have the texture not only of the fur, but also the skin, the animal skin. There's not a lot of texture in the painting. It's very neutral, very. There's not a lot of brush marks. No. Disappearing cross. It's weird. It's disappearing. All you could say is just detail, yeah, but there's lots of details around it. Even like the toenail has some very precise detail, and this disappears. How come? This is weird. This is really weird. Or you could say, yeah, whatever, but not when you have this, and even this, and this, and there's lots of details. This, but this disappears. Feet are not very finely painted. Yes, they are. They are. It's great feet. It's great feet. I really like them. Maybe a little bit short, considering his height. disappeared stick, it might be a lost moment. Oops, sorry. Caravaggio might have been both a genius and a madman. Some stories contradict the story of self-defense, and he often got in trouble for going against authority. Yeah, and he used his talent to be forgiven. How can you not forget someone that paints like this? And he was a unique artist at the time, and still is. I see you, Maria. If he was mad, he would not gain forgiveness. Yeah, he was mad in like um, episodes, like moments. But the rest of the time, he was a decent guy. He would just have like moments where he'd freak out. He would just drink his way through the night and and become mad at the world. Hmm. Oh no, he wasn't mad as like sickness, but he could have. I'm not a psychologist, but like some psychologists could say, oh yeah, this was definitely like neuroticism or like I don't know what, like depression, or they don't call this anymore. I'm not a psychologist, but it might have had a psych psychiatric a condition, some psychology condition. We all do, sort of. Yeah, well, I also have to go soon, so well, bye, Vox, and yeah, I think I will leave the stream here too. So yeah, thanks for being here, guys, and thanks for all the interesting conversation. I hope this was you appreciated this stream. So it's really interesting for me to do, and so I'll see you next time. Next time I'm not doing learning from the masters again. I will probably paint or draw or whatever. I try to improve myself so that one day I can hope to reach the ankle of an artist like Caravaggio, and that's the story of every artist's life, trying to improve, make ourselves better. So thanks for being here, guys, and I will see you for the next one on Saturday. Bye, everyone. Take care.